singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Come on, sing it out. And all the overwhelming
What's up, everybody? Can you see me? All right, tonight I've been trying to finish up some things on this 4-song project we want to release from a live night of worship that we did here. And so we're here at the university, we're on break now, and we want to keep the momentum. We don't want to lose a lot of our momentum throughout the break, because the kids, naturally, academically, they're disconnecting. But spiritual development is a huge part of what we do here at the school. And we have chapel 5 times a week, 4 of them in our big auditorium, and it's a student-led worship. So that's just a little background of kind of what we do. And then in the middle of the semester, we have a big, what they call late night worship. So on our Sagu Chapel social media, we just try to drip out these videos that people can connect with, mainly our students, our alumni base, but lately it's been reaching out even further, which is very good for us. And the more exposure we get, the more people want to know about our story, and the better we can tell our story. So that's why we do this. So during the break, we'll release a song each week from just kind of reminding, it was a great night and special night. So this particular song is number 2 in the 4 that we will release, and I think tomorrow we release the one that I worked on last week. But in the next couple of days, I need to finish up the next 3. So I've been working on vocals, and in some of the communities and forums that we discuss our media technology in, there's a big debate on whether to tune or not to tune. And I think a lot of that revolves around the live part of it. It's generally accepted in the studio and post-work that you're going to tune. Why wouldn't you, I guess, is the question. So, but sometimes it's intimidating. I remember when I first got into when the tuning came out and trying to get my brain wrapped around tuning vocals and keeping them transparent, I didn't want them to sound like, affected necessarily. Now, sometimes you can't do anything about it, but as technology has gone forward, these programs have become more and more transparent. As we pick higher sample rates, the picture is better that the audio engine is looking at, and therefore it's given the software developers a better platform to stand on and make these tuners better. And I thought, well, since I have some experience in this, and I tune vocals every week of the year, I thought I'd share a couple things while I work on this, and you could kind of see the tuner working. Now, there's a couple types. There's the DAW, the workstations that have it built in, and then you have your third party being the Antares Auto-Tune. The newer ones, I think since 6 or 7, gave you the ability to not only auto-tune, but you could manually tune those. And that's really what I want to talk about tonight, is the difference between manual and auto and why you would use one over the other. So Waves has a tuner, an auto tuner. There's a lot of companies out there, really. And then you have a few select workstations in the software. They, like Logic, has pitch corrector, and I've used that a little bit. We have a Logic machine here as well, and I don't know about the newest Pro Tools. Maybe you guys could tell me. I don't have the newest version. We have 10, I think, 10 or 11, and it didn't have it in that. So there's a few that do. We work with Nuendo in this studio, so the Steinberg Nuendo platform, to me, is the best one out there. There's really no competitors, and one of the things that really make it special is the tuner and the embedded tuner. It is very, very powerful, and as far as the ones I've heard, it's the most transparent out of all of that. So now you know what you'll at least be listening to. I won't really do a comparison of manual tuners, but just because it's not practical to switch workstations just for a short little thing like this. But I do have the Antares Auto-Tune as well, so I usually put those on BGVs. I duplicated a track, so let me see if I can bring that up. So I'll change this real quick. I'll label it so you can see. This is Lydia box 1, and then I copied it, duplicated it here. So I just call it box 1 dupe. And I'll leave auto-tune on the dupe, and I'll manually tune the other, so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on. And I need to make sure I'm in the right tune, in the right key. So I have to work around that. But let's listen. We'll dive in real close to where she starts singing, and I will. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. All right. So what you're seeing is the manual tuner. Here's the whole song. So when it analyzes, it's really easy. You just double click on the file. You hit the audio, very audio section of. There's a lot of things you can pick to do to these tracks. We want to adjust the pitch and the timing, I won't do any timing right now, but so you'll enable the Very Audio, which is the tuner, and you just click on Analyze, and it analyzes it, and it brings it to me in a piano roll. And over here on the left, see my mouse. Hopefully you can see that. You see a piano roll. And this piano roll is all the notes that is being heard on this monophonic track. So this is a mono track that she's just singing in it. It's important that it is a monophonic because I don't have a polyphonic mode enabled. So it's just picking out the notes that are the loudest. So there are some parts where you see some scattered stuff here that are really nothing. It's just ambient noise. And then as she sings into the microphone, it picks up the notes. So these notes come to me in a piano roll, and I can see exactly what note she's hitting. But it's also showing me, very importantly, where she sits in the tuning part of that. Let me zoom in. Here, actually, I'll go right to where she starts singing.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me.
Okay, so that part right there, I have already tuned. That's the only thing I tuned. So this next little section that she's going to sing is untuned, and you should be able to hear the difference. And I'll zoom in after we listen to it, and you'll be able to see the difference between perfectly aligned tune vocals and just raw untuned vocals. So here's the untuned section.
You've been so, so good to me.
Sorry, I forgot to turn my mic off there. I'll try to remember to do that every time so you guys don't hear the audio coming through my mic. I guess I'm too lazy to wear headphones right now, but so that was obvious. You could definitely hear she was a little pitchy. And that now I'm gonna zoom in. I'm gonna go back and to where she starts. Let's zoom in, and you'll be able to actually see the musical information as we zoom in. And let's see. Right here, this part to the left, grayed out, is tuned. This part to the right is not tuned. And I don't know if I can get that any better. Yeah, here we go. So see how these blocks I've already tuned, I've already quantized the pitch is what Nuendo calls it. And they sit perfectly in that piano roll. So that's on an E flat. This note is an E flat note, and it's perfectly within that block. But this E flat is kind of halfway in between E flat and E. So here's what a perfect E flat sounds like.
You were singing over me.
That over me started the E flat, and here's what it sounds like when she's out. This is raw, so untuned.
You've been so, so good to me.
So you can really hear when you hear it perfectly tuned against not. I mean, it's just a no-brainer. You're not going to not tune it, and it's when it gets overdone on the auto tuners that people will tend to react negatively, understandably so. If it's not meant to be an effect, and it's not just super overdone, and it's just halfway overdone, it sounds like a mistake, really. So what we need to do, and this is one reason I choose to manually tune the very, very important vocal parts in a song, is that I need to get it right, and but I don't want it to sound tuned. So that transparency is very, very critical. So manually tuning it gives me that ability much better than, say, the auto tuner, because the auto tuner takes a little time to work, and you can dial that back and you can relax it a little bit where it eases into it, so it is a little more transparent, but it still there's still more time for that has to happen for it to work. There's no such thing as a zero latent auto tuner. So part of what you really hear in the effect a lot of time is the reaction time to the tuner, to the just what it's actually doing is retuning. So you may hear it out of tune and then quickly in tune, and your ear is perceiving that rapid transition to tuned, which gives it that effect. Well, when you manually do it, then when the playhead goes over it, it's just already in tune, so there's no latency for tuning. It's already tuned. I hope that made sense. So I'm gonna highlight this. This is from here all the way over. Everything she sings after this is untuned. I usually go by in sections. So I'll play it one more time so you can hear it out of tune.
You have been so, so good to me. You have
Oh, see, that's my problem, man. When I forget to turn the mic back on. Got to remember. All right. I was just explaining that here is, watch the notes as they get in tune. Out of tune, in tune. Out of tune, in tune. Now, I could have picked that E flat note to go to E, and we would have to move that. I'll show you what would happen. So now it should be perfectly in tune. Let's listen.
You have been so, so good to me.
All right, so that was very important that it went automatically to the right notes. But she was enough out of tune that it wouldn't have surprised me if that E flat would have actually gone to an E, and here's what it would have sounded like if it had chosen that.
You have been so, so good to me. You have been so.
So you should have heard that E activated there. We'll bring that back. It's supposed to be an E flat. So it's as easy as that. I just move these notes around, and if the vocal is way out, I can move it to the right note. And Nuendo does a great job of holding its transparency. Now, the more I have to move it, the less transparent it will get. But it's got a pretty high tolerance and threshold. So this is, to me, really transparent in a perfectly tuned vocal. I'll play it one more time.
You've been so, so good to me.
Okay, I heard something on this D flat, and you can see what happens here. Her vibrato, the waves in those in the note structure there is her vibrato, and her vibrato really caused that D flat to jump up close to the D. And so even though it's in tune now to the D flat, it actually perceptively you hear a little raise, like a scoop to the D. I don't know if I like it. Let's listen. See that real quick good. So what we can do is we can straighten that pitch out just a little bit. Now we are affecting it, but I'm bringing it down a little bit. It might not be quite as transparent as the other notes, but let's see how it sounds in context.
You've been so, so good to me.
Yeah, it's better. I mean, I really couldn't tell. It's a slight scoop instead of a very obvious scoop. Let's hear it one more time.
You've been so, so good to me.
And that's one reason I really love Nuendo. I kept my mic open that time. Hopefully you heard it. But it's because of, most editors, you do that was a pretty massive edit, even though it didn't look like much, to that waveform, that most editors, it would not be nearly that transparent. So we did that section. Now let's go to more sections, and you can see those are not perfectly in a box. So we're gonna just take them all, quantize it. Now I could select the whole song and quantize it all, and then just let it ride and go and fix whatever notes didn't go the right way. But I like doing this because it helps me really analyze and hear. And I can use my ear to pick out other little nuances that might be problematic in the vocal. So I'm doing a little more than tuning. I'm also using a very critical ear to analyze some of the things that are going on in her mic.
Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me.
And she had some serious vibrato right here. And even though it's not actually auto-tuned, it almost sounded like it was fake. So I struggle with that. I struggle with letting that go because it already kind of sounds fake. And you can see in these waveforms, she's using a lot more vibrato here. And this is a live performance. So it's not like we sat in the studio and went over and over and over, and I'm just finally adding some fine tuning to an already really well-worked vocal. This is a vocal that was done live. There's a lot of emotion, a lot of adrenaline. So it's guaranteed that there's a lot of problems going to happen when you're tuning live vocals. You're going to see a lot more problems. So I'm going to analyze this a little more with my ear. I'll listen to it a few times. I'll cut my mic off now.
Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. took a breath,
I can live with that. That's live, and that vibrato is on the edge of really bugging me, but I'm gonna let it ride.
you breathe your life in me.
That first vibrato right, oops, I went a lot faster than I thought. Here, let me get into scrub mode.
Before I took a breath, there goes now. Before I took a breath, you breathe your life.
Like that, your
life, follow with you breathe your life.
I like the vibrato and the your right there, but
Follow with you breathe you.
that guy is a little steep. That scoop down is to flat is kind of bad, but relatively it sounds good.
You breathe your life in me.
But that me, all this, whew, this is tough to deal with.
Follow your life in me.
And hopefully you can hear that. I'm gonna work on that me a little bit. I'll cut my mic off while I do, but I think we need to tame that vibrato just a little bit.
Follow with you breathe your life in me. Follow your life in me. Follow with you.
I actually think she's singing the wrong note there. I'm gonna play it back.
You breathe your life in me.
Yeah, she's saying the wrong note. Let's bring that back down. Actually, needs to be a D flat, not C.
You breathe your life in me.
No, I take that back. Needs to be a B.
You breathe your life in me.
Yeah, that's what was really bugging me, I think, is, and you have to do that. You have to kind of massage these when you start the tuning. It can, like I said, if it's really out of tune, it can pick the wrong note to go to when you quantize it. So it did. It picked the C instead of the B there, and she should have been singing a B. Naturally, she was just perfectly in between them, and her vibrato was very harsh. So I straightened that vibrato out just a little bit and got her back down to the right note, B. So let's hear it in context.
Before I took a breath, you breathe your life in me.
Yes, now I can live and sleep good tonight. It's tuned and it's on the right note, and the vibrato is just not going crazy. Another thing is really cool that she pulled off. This is a side note, nothing to do with tuning. It could have a tangent with tuning that you do have to be careful. See these little lines here? Well, let me see. These little, I don't know, I probably should be in that mode. These are transients or things that are not real musical notes. They're kind of an anomaly to the music pattern. And It could be even a breath. And even breaths have a little bit of a tuning mechanism to them, but they get detached. And so she's breathing here. In this particular case, it's not messing with us, but sometimes I've seen it real harsh where when you start to tune, it'll really disconnect the breath from the musical note. So you got to be very, very careful. Sometimes I may have to either really delete this, come in with a nice quick fade, or reconnect, draw a line that gives me a new scoop in that breath if that breath was real important. So what reminded me of this is that she's saying this with a lot of emotion. Listen to the breath characteristic that she has. She's even saying, you bring life and breath into me. And I love that she sang it very, very breathy. So makes for a great performance. So let's listen to it.
Before I took a breath, you breathe your life in me.
So that was just a little side note there to remember. Something that the auto-tuners really do not do well. And I probably won't do all of her vocal here. Just because I don't think you guys want to sit through all of that. But I'll do a little bit more just so you can kind of see the repetition here. And then I'll show you the auto-tuned version of this. And you tell me what you think is better. Now, again, I did a pretty big section here, so could have grabbed some out-of-tune notes and put them in the wrong, so we may hear some really bad notes.
You've been so, so kind to me. Come on, sing it out. And all the overwhelming.
Oh, show. There was a lot of bad notes in that. So we just need to look, and I'm going to make sure we're in E flat real quick. So hang out with me real quick. I'm just trying to memorize the notes here. It's in, I said E flat, but E flat is just the two of, I think it's in D flat. D flat minor. E flat is the two, that way we can. Yep, it's D flat. All right, sorry. Just wanted to be sure. So, let's go step by step here.
You have been so, so.
I don't like that E there. Let's listen to it.
You have been so, so kind to me.
So, hopefully you saw what I did. It was actually tuned to an E, and really that note, so
You've been so
bend, the bend should be an E flat. So now it sounds more natural.
You've been so kind to me.
And I think I want to hear these as B's. Let me do both of those guys.
You've been so kind to me. Come on,
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's right. And then this guy, her vibrato really made the analyzer think she was trying to sing another note. It's one thing about her vibrato, it is very strong, and she will get way above and way under the note. So we got to be careful. And now I think we're tuned.
you've been so kind to me. Come on, see that? And all the
Yeah, she really scooped up to that. I don't think that's the right note either. Let's try.
and all the
Start her off in D flat.
and all the
That guy really needs to be tamed there, so we're going to get that vibrato out.
and all the and all the
Yeah, it was the vibrato tricking it, so it did need to be a B. It's just the vibrato was way too strong. All right, let's listen in context. Hopefully everything's there.
You've been so kind to me. Come on, sing it out. And all the overwhelming. Reckless love of God. Oh. Reckless love of God. Oh.
So I'm going to tune that guy coming up. Let's see. Let's get all of this nice and tightly quantized in the pitch. Here we go.
Reckless love of God. Oh. Reckless love of God. Oh.
Okay, this is interesting because her sustained note there, I think, is supposed to be an E flat. But the scoop up, I think, should go to a E. So she'll kind of scoop from D flat to E back down to E flat, we need to make sure that she really hits that note. So right now she's just in between note. If you can see that waveform or that musical form is right in between E and E flat. So we have a tool that will let us separate. I'm going to separate it all the way on the down. All right. And then now we have to retune that guy. But what we do is take that guy to E, and this guy to E flat. And let's see what happens. Absolutely, that's the way it's supposed to go. She did the scoop to E and then drops down to hold it out to E flat. I'll let you hear it again. I absolutely love that that stayed very transparent and you can't really tell that there's a tuning, although we really manipulated that, and because that's a scoop to E and now drop down to E flat, and it sounds so much better, like very, very natural in the way she was supposed to sing it. And that's, I don't want to say it's getting lucky, but it's very close to being lucky. That could have gone really bad quickly. And I've been known to spend hours on just little things trying to figure out how to get it to sound right, because it doesn't come across transparently. But that worked out. This one looks like it's going to need some help too. Not too bad. All right, so I'll go back. We'll just work with that section there. I'll go back and do the part that we just tuned. I'll let you hear that, and then I'll let you hear auto tune. This versus the auto tune. So here's the manually tune.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You've been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You've been so, so kind to me. Come on, sing it out. And all the overwhelming.
Oh yeah, all right, like it. And really, to get stuff to sound good, guys, you got to just be committed to doing the work. And this is sometimes tedious, and you listen over and over. And the more critical you are, the more you're going to listen. And I have a lot of students that come in, and they want to be engineers. They aspire to. They're not musicians per se, but they want to be in the business. So the next way to do it is get in on the technical side. And then when they figure out, oh wow, I didn't know I was going to have to listen to a song 1,000 times before I get it right. That tends to weed people out. And you don't have to, but it does. It will matter in the long run. The quality that end product presents, will be evidence of how much work you put into it. So just remember that. Putting in this work, ultimately no one's going to come back and go, oh wow, you spent an hour on tuning a vocal, or 2 hours, or whatever it is. They'll never think about that. They'll just think, hopefully it sounded right. So, and that's to someone that's really invested into quality. I think that's the payoff. All right, back to the topic. I'm gonna go to auto tune. So that was the manual tune, and I'm gonna bring up, as you see, that's the channel strip for the manually tuned, and I'm gonna change it, and this is the strip for let's unmute it. We turn the tuner on, and I'm going to bring the tuner in. As you see, the correct musical term for this key is, and she's singing an alto. So this is Antares Auto-Tune. She's singing the alto part as the melody line. And because we're in the minor, the correct way to musically say that is she's in, or the song's in C sharp, not D flat. I think if it was a dominant, it'd be okay to say D flat. Some of you musical geniuses out there could correct me if I'm wrong. But this is C sharp minor. So we put that key scale in. That's very important when you're in auto tuning, because now it gives me only the notes. I'm gonna pick there we go. Sorry guys. Now you can see, there's the channel strip and the auto tuner. So because I picked the C sharp minor scale, it now gives me the 7 notes of the scale. And if you see, here's the tracking. This is how choosy or relaxed, that's the term they use, of when it sees the note. Like if the note is not way off, then it'll kind of let it ride. And it works in direct correlation with this being probably the most important part of the auto-tuning process, is the retuning speed. And we set that in the middle. The faster you set it, the quicker the initiation of the plugin. So you will instantly hear it. There's no feathering, if I guess, I don't know a good word, I guess, for that, but to use a visual term, a graphics term, is to feather the edge. So the kind of a end to fully end point, there's a gradient. And if you put that on very slow, I guess it's kind of like the attack. It activates a lot slower. So you'll find that you need it to get up there quick enough, but not too quick where it loses its transparency. So the magic is in, if you're auto-tuning, is to really find the quickness of the vocals and that vocalist that you're tuning. How are they getting into the notes? So you really just end up playing with this guy. And this humanizes kind of another relaxation of it's how steep the slope is. So from initiation, from like the transient to being fully activated, you'll see here as she begins to sing in this area how far off she is. These are the cents. So as a negative, that's a flat 50 and a sharp 50. On 0 is perfectly in tune. So this is reading actually the raw vocal, not the output, but this is kind of the input part of it. And I think it's important to activate the formant, because the formant is the character of the vocal, and I'll play with it so you can see what it does in just a minute. So check this out.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Come on, sing it out. And all the overwhelming.
Oh, I'm sorry. I need to cut the mic off. Next time I will. But as you could hear, it did a really good job. I think it did of course, I played with it just a little bit to get it away from its default settings and get it the retuning speed and the tracking more close to the way she was singing it. So I feel like there is a good relative transparency, but in reality, when you compare it to the manually tuned, you can hear the work on the breaths and the transients on the breath. You could kind of feel it, not much. And if you're not paying attention to it, you probably like, no one just listening to it is going to go, oh wow, I can hear the auto tune working there. But this is where it comes down to being super critical or not. And for me, I just want it to be as transparent as possible. So let's play it again. Listen to the breathiness and a little bit of the vibrato. I did like meet in the middle with the plug-in on this natural vibrato here. If you could see my mouse. Hold on just a second. And we put it at 0. Now we could ignore it totally or let auto-tune simulate the vibrato, which you really don't want to do that unless you're trying to sound like Cher or T-Pain or something like that. But I think it meets in the middle. So I'll mute my mic and you guys can hear hopefully the breaths a little better.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Come on, sing it out. And all the overwhelming.
So there's a really cool thing that happens when you have auto-tune on, and there's a character, a sound that is created just in the natural movement of the plug-in that I've grown accustomed to, and I really, really like it. I think it kind of gives a depth. If you get it right on the auto-tuner, there's a depth there that you just, it's kind of like what the 1073 does as a preamp and an EQ. It adds a little depth. Well, this kind of does the same thing. It gives a little depth to the sound, and it's hard to explain, but you can definitely hear it. So let's compare the manually tuned with the auto tune. And I'll go to this version, and if you look where it says Lydia, box 1 is manually tuned. Lydia Vox 1 dupe is auto-tuned. And I'll mute and unmute those guys. We'll start off with the manually tuned.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me.
Here, I'll cut my mic off this time and listen to it. This is manually tuned.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me.
Auto-tuned.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, breathe your life in me. Before I took a breath, you breathe your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Come on, sing that. Before I took a breath, you breathe your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Come on, sing it out. And all the overwhelming.
So you got to hear both the manually tuned and the auto-tune. Not a ton of difference, to be honest with you. I could live with either one in that verse section there. I just feel more comfortable with the processing that's going to happen after the fact when it's manually tuned. But sometimes I even tune it up perfectly manually and then just throw the auto-tuner on it, just because of the little depth shaping that happens to it. And sometimes I find that I really like that combination as well. There is another part I know that later in the song's really going, where the auto-tuner kind of goes bananas. Let me see if I can find that. So you could really hear Auto-Tune kind of struggling with it because her emotion, her adrenaline really started driving there. And I bet when we look at the waveform, it's just going to be massive peaks and valleys. So I'm going to dip out of this guy real quick and go back to the manually tuned one. I'm going to skip ahead to this section so we can look at it. Yeah, look at those. Look at those peaks and valleys. Wowzers. So, I'm going to dip back here. And let's just tune that section. We'll work on this section here. Look at that. And this is the sign of emotion and adrenaline right here. Just these huge peaks and valleys, just all over, not just in one little part, but from here to here, where she's just really driving it. So we'll quantize the pitch just all together. Massive change. And let's see what happens. All together, I think I want to straighten a lot of that out, but I want to find the break point, because if I straighten it out too much, it's really going to sound, well, the opposite of transparent. So let's start by trying to get all the lines just inside their box. Let's see. So there's some apparent issues there we just need to deal with. The fall-offs, ups, the word ups. All right, so I'm trying to decide how I really want to deal with this guy. I'm gonna undo that pitch straighten, and I'm gonna cut this guy and get her to sing a whole different note right there. So let's quantize that again. And now I can just pick this fall off note by itself and straighten it out. Now, potentially it's just going to sound digital, but but definitely better, because now we got her into a real note that's relative, and we straightened out that fall off so it's not quite as dramatic through semitones that aren't supposed to be there. And I can see I might can just change this guy here. All right, and so I fixed that one. We just picked the right note for it. And again, we straightened out some of that vibrato. Sounds pretty natural. Let me get back into this mode. This last bit, that vibrato is crazy. And you just got to be careful, because I don't want to steal from her emotion either. That vibrato is a part of the emotion. So, really, you want to keep as much of it as possible. So there's probably a fine line of how much I can take away. But let's see if we got it right here. She held on to that note. And I can hear where I straightened it out. I'm gonna back off just a little bit. I think I can live with that. I'll let you guys hear it with my mic off in context. I'll go ahead and fix that, guy, since I heard it. She did a good job on that second pass of staying close to pitch. Once again. Let's see if we can get this guy a little better into tune. I think my mouse battery is dying. Come on. It's saying my battery's low. We'll go ahead and tune this whole pass. See what happens. Okay, well, that's good enough. I think if I do any more, I'm going to really steal from some of the emotion there, and I don't want to do that. Here's the next pass. Wow, it's really cool when you're working on music that's got a lot of passion and energy and emotion all wrapped up. It doesn't really get any better than that. I mean, that's just a fantastic performance. And I really don't want to do anything that sucks that out at all. I am going to try to tighten up the pitch just a little bit, but I always have the undo button at my disposal. So I'm not going to go crazy here, but I'm going to quantize the pitch and see what happens. If it doesn't work, I'm going to just let it ride. I'm going to go back. Yeah, that kind of adjusted some notes in the wrong way, and I'm not comfortable with that. So I'm taking a little section at a time just to make sure, but I might just end up leaving this. So this guy right here is really the only thing that's bugging me. Let's try to straighten this guy out, find out what's going on. We'll zoom in. I know I said I wasn't going to do it, but I kind of got into, I saw a few things that were easy to correct, so we corrected it, but it didn't really kill it. I think this needs to be the same. I kind of like the E flat better than the E there. Let's see what happens here. Let's definitely tune that note. No, that needs to be. That's why it sounded like that. This guy needs to get tightened up. Nope. Not in the key. And that's about it. I know I have to do the middle section. I was just thinking also of one thing. I showed you I kind of showed you a bad technique in here with what I was doing. If you're new to tuning, one thing that I'm doing that I would suggest you not do until you get a lot of editing experience and just hours and hours under your belt is don't listen with all the effects on it. So I had the reverb and the delay. So that's not a good practice habit. And normally, I wouldn't do that in a very critical situation. I've always got the vocal soloed, and if I have anything playing beside it, it would be the piano, because the piano is going to be most of the time, if it's an electric piano, it's going to be in 440, and that's everything else is going to be tuned to 440. So we know that that perfect pitch that we're tuning to, the sound of it will be relative to 440, but hearing the piano sometimes helps me. Now I know guys that tune a lot better than I do, and they're musicians. Musicians tune the best. So guys that really know the theory, and I've been in the music business for a long time, more than 30 years. And I've picked up a lot from just being in it and learning. I can play guitar and piano and drums just enough to get by, but I'm not the guy that you want to call in a studio session to do it. And it's probably taken me a lot longer to learn how to tune than, say, just a good musician would, because they understand the circle of fifths, the scale process, and they probably can think about it and it registers faster. So you probably won't have to do and spend as much time gaining experience as I have to get good at it. But I would definitely say musicians tend to be better at this. I've logged a lot of hours, so the experience factor works for me. And but the deal is, it's the relativity of knowing what notes should be there and what notes shouldn't be there more than anything. And as you can see, we can do a lot of manipulation. We can change the notes that they sing. And in a really good editor like this, it's transparent and you can fool a lot of people, even the singer. I've had singers come in, I just don't remember singing that note. And, that's because you didn't. And we moved that because we felt it's an executive decision that that note was better served in this song at this note rather than the one you sang. So when you're developing practice habits, I tell you to start off just solo the vocal and really train your ear to hear what's in tune and out of tune. If you need to put something relative to it, don't put the whole song against it. Don't put effects against it, but solo it dry and maybe put the piano or a guitar, acoustic guitar or something like that that's in your instrument list against it, and that way you can kind of measure. But you really need to focus in on how they're singing. Now, I feel a little more comfortable doing it just because I've done it so much, and I'm trying to do it quick. So I need to knock out 3 songs in, less than 48 hours. That's a little quick for me because I just won't catch everything. And especially in a live performance, there's a lot of things to catch. But that's it, kind of in a nutshell. And if you got any questions, I probably took way too long to do all this. I'll learn how to YouTube and do these things a little better as the more I do it. But if you have any questions, or you just want to talk about a process, or you think that there's a better way to do it, by all means, comment on YouTube or Facebook in the comments. Send me a private message if you want. It's all about learning and growing, and hopefully I was able to maybe help some of those of you that are looking into getting or want to know more about tuning, want to do it. It's just a little intimidating. Don't let it be intimidating. Just get out there and do it. It's like anything in this business. it's a lot of trial and error and a lot of playing around, and that's part of the fun of it. So don't let your inhibitions and intimidations or things that seem to be intimidating still the joy of learning and the creative process a lot of times is cultivated inside of just the trial and error aspect. So keep striving to be better, do better, and learn as much as you can. There's a lot of guys in our circle here in Facebook and YouTube world and all the social platforms that some of you new guys or young guys that are just getting into it can really glean from. So listen, be a sponge, soak it up, and then find your way. Find the way that really works for you. I know my way is, I'm trying not to be the guy that is saying, hey, this is the right way and this is the wrong way. This is just a way. This is an experienced way. This is a way that has helped me. I've learned over the years, and people have taught me, and so I'm now giving that away. So if you have questions or comments, please engage and let me know. Thanks a lot, guys, and hopefully you'll have a great evening. Great, well, if you're watching live, have a great night's sleep. If not, then just have a great rest of your day if you're watching this on demand. All right, guys, we'll see you later.